Hello everyone, Pierce Nation here. Welcome back with another deck profile. I've got my branded Cyber Dragon deck. Not even going to try and hide the name. This is a very powerful version of Cyber Dragons, and it does not use the Cyber Dragon Darks, but it is very powerful in my testings. So let me go ahead and show you the deck and what it consists of and what it can do. So I'm going to move my extra deck aside for me. And we'll go ahead and get on with the deck profile. So always start off with 3 copies of Cyber Dragon. Of course, Cyber Dragon is the engine we're using in this deck, so running 3 of it doesn't hurt this deck at all. Plus, Cyber Dragon does have an effect to special summon itself if you control the monster. So Cyber Dragon is very cool to use. I run 3 Cyber Dragon Core in this deck. So what Cyber Dragon Core allows you to do is add a Cyber Spell or Trap from deck to hand, and then if only your opponent controls a monster, you can banish this card from the graveyard and special summon Cyber Dragon directly from the deck. So if you're left with no board, off of Nibiru, and they destroy your Nibiru token, you take a shit ton of damage, Cyber Dragon Core will come in handy there. Cyber Dragon Core is a very, very good card, especially for the Cyber Dragon engine. Next, we're playing 2 copies of Cyber Dragon Hertz. Now, Hertz is cool. His effects are weird. So, let me read him. That way I can read him correctly. And you guys, all the Cyber Dragon players that have seen my deck profiles, know exactly what Cyber Dragon Hertz can do. So, this card's name becomes Cyber Dragon while on the field or in the graveyard. Can only use one of the following effects of Cyber Dragon Hertz once per turn, and only once that way. If this card is special summon, you can make this card's level become 5 until the end of this turn. You cannot special summon monsters for the rest of the turn except for machine monsters. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can add one other Cyber Dragon from your deck to your hand or graveyard. So, Cyber Dragon Hertz can only grab Cyber Dragon as it's specific on the card. So, that is what Cyber Dragon Hertz can do. Last time I did not get that right, so I've got it right now. Don't worry. And I ran 1 Cyber Dragon Notster. The reason Notster is in the deck, and he actually made the cut, is because of his ability. This card's name becomes Cyber Dragon while in the field or in the graveyard, a lot like Core and Hertz. You can discard one other monster, special summon this card from your hand. If this card is normal or special summon, you can target one machine monster with 2100 attack or defense in your graveyard, special summon it. Also, you can not special summon monsters for the rest of this turn except for machine monsters. And activate one of the effects once per turn, or each of the effects once per turn. So, where Notster comes in this deck is if you have especially if you have Despian Tragedy in your hand, you can discard Tragedy to special summon Notster, and then Tragedy's effect will activate because it was sent to the graveyard to add a Despian monster from deck to hand. So either your Aluber or your Dramature at that stage in the game. So very cool play there. And also it can retrieve a Cyber Dragon while it does that. So now we're going to get on to some of the Despian monsters. We run 3 Aluber. You'd be dumb not to, because Aluber is so good. So Aluber, if he has normal special summon, can add 1 branded spell or trap from deck to hand. If a face-up fusion monster you control is destroyed by battle or leaves the field because of an opponent's card effect, while this card is in the graveyard, you can target 1 effect monster your opponent controls, special summon this card, and if you do, negate the targeted monster's effects until the end of the turn. And activate 1 effect once per turn. So, or each effect once per turn. So, Aluber is godly. Like, he is one of the best deck engine monsters I've ever seen. With that, we will be running 2 Despian Tragedy. So Despian Tragedy is, again, the play starter, because it specifies if this card is sent to the graveyard or banished by a card effect, you can add one Despian monster from your deck to your hand, except Despian Tragedy. You can banish this card from your graveyard, then target one branded spell or trap in your graveyard. Set it to your field. You can only use each effect Despian Tragedy once per turn, and only once that way. So, very good. I like Tragedy a whole lot. So next, I've got one Dramaturge of Despia. So this one's kind of weird. It's very good. If a fusion, synchro, exceeds, or link monster is special summoned except during the damage step, you can target one effect monster on the field, negate its effects until the end of this turn. It doesn't say if it's mine or yours. So if I use Branded in red and my fusion summon one of those cards on the field, I can just free negate whatever effect monster you have. This card in your hand or field is used as fusion material and sent to the graveyard or banished. You can special summon this card. So if you used it for fusion from branded fusion from deck, it would not apply. But from hand or field, it will apply. So basically, you just get this thing to your hand and have Branded in red ready to fusion this thing off, and you will get this sucker right back. And then his effects become active. So these two were new. I started twiddling around with them, and they're pretty good. Tri-Brigade Mercurier. So this card is very good. It says when your opponent activates a monster effect while you control a fusion monster that mentions Fallen Albaz as material, quick effect, you can send this card from your hand or face-up field to the graveyard, negate that effect. If this card is banished, you can add from your deck to your hand one Fallen Albaz or one monster that mentions it. So basically just think, if this card is banished, you can add, Fallen Albaz or some of the other ones that mention Fallen Albaz instead, which is cool. And the next one I had is Spriggan's Kit. So this is the other one I was twiddling around with. It says if you have a fusion monster that mentions Fallen Albaz as material on your field or in your graveyard, you can special summon this card from hand. If this card is normal special summon, you can add to your hand one branded spell or trap that is banished or in your deck or graveyard. Then place one card from your hand on the bottom of the deck. You can only use each effect once per turn. Spriggan's is a freaking monstrous card. I did not know how good this card was, and I choose to ignore it, and I'm an idiot. So Kit is one of the best cards in this deck, really. And then you're going to run 2 copies of Fallen Albaz. Of course, Albaz is your real good engine in this deck. Like, without Albaz, this branded engine does not work, unfortunately. So, if this card is normal or special summon, except during the damage step, you can discard one card, fusion summon one fusion monster from your extra deck, using monsters on either field as material, including this card. But you cannot use other monsters you control as fusion material. You can only use this effect of Fallen Albaz once per turn. So you can use Fallen Albaz and basically whatever your opponent has. Your opponent's monsters aren't limited, but yours are. You can only use Fallen Albaz as the material for the fusion summons on your side. So, pretty good there. Especially if you're going against a loaded board. You can basically just wipe the whole board. And the last monster I run in the deck is Albion the Shrouded Dragon. This card, obviously, I'm using it for good reasons. So, this card's name becomes Fallen Albaz while on the field or in the graveyard. If this card is in your hand or graveyard, you can send one Fallen Albaz or one branded spell or trap from your hand or deck to the graveyard. Apply the following effect based on where it came from. So, if it came from your hand, you can special summon this card. If it came from your deck, place this card on the bottom of the deck. Then if you place this card from your hand, draw one card. So, very good. I like Albion. He's pretty cool. He's a nice extender. So now let's get into some spells, why don't we? So we're going to start off with, of course, 3 Branded Fusion. Branded Fusion is, again, a necessity. It is your combo starter. Once you go Branded Fusion, you can go Albion or Lubellion. Either way, it's going to get you into another fusion and get you set up for your effects with the Despian Tragedy and the Dramaturg, which are very, very good. So I do like me some Branded Fusion. I run 1 branded in red. This might get changed to 2, but for now I think 1's fine. It doesn't really slow down the consistency, but I'm sure 2 wouldn't hurt. So branded in red is a quick play spell. Target 1 Despia monster or Fallen Albaz in your graveyard, add it to your hand, then you can apply the following effect. Fusion summon 1 level 8 or higher fusion monster from your hand or field as material, but it cannot attack directly this turn. You can only activate 1 branded in red once per turn. More than likely use branded in red on your opponent's turn since it can't attack directly, so then the next turn it can attack directly. So it's very good. We're going to run 2 Super Polys. Now, I wanted to put this to 3. I'd run 41 cards. I just think it's fine where it's at. So we all know Super Poly. It is again a quick play spell. You discard 1 card, fusion summon 1 fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from either field as material. Neither player can activate cards or effects in response to this card. In my decks, I have started to play Super Poly in all of them, because if you can't activate effects in response, then it's kind of a bullshit card, to be honest. But if it's going to be unlimited to 3, then I'm going to start using these things, because it's so OP, especially when you get into late game and you get Super Poly and it's basically the end of the game. Or if you make a good play and you got your field set up and you get hit with a Super Poly, it does not feel very well. So we're going to start running these, because that is a very unfair card, like Forbidden Droplet. And I'm going to run 3 Cyber Emergency. Of course, we all know what Cyber Emergency does. It is the ultimate extender for Drytron and Cyber Dragons. So basically, you can have 1 Light Machine monster that cannot be normal summoned or set, or 1 Cyber Dragon monster from your deck to your hand. If the activation of this card and its owner's possession was negated by your opponent's card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can discard 1 card, add this card to your hand. You can only activate 1 Cyber Emergency per turn. Now, notice it says if the activation is negated, and you can only activate 1 emergency per turn, you could potentially make sure that they hit the emergency and not the effect. So the activation, not the effect. If they hit the effect, then you cannot use this to gain it back. But if they do hit the activation, you can actually discard 1 card, whether it be Despian Tragedy or whatever it is. Then you can add this card back to your hand, and then you can just free activate it again, because the activation wasn't negated, so you did not activate it, you failed to activate, and then you can activate it again. So remember that when you play this card. I run 1 Cyber Repair Plant. Now, Cyber Repair Plant's a little bit different, and you have to build. The reason we play it 1 is you have to build up a combo in order to even use this card. So if Cyber Dragon is in your graveyard, you can activate 1 of these effects. If you have 3 or more Cyber Dragons in your graveyard, at this card's activation, you can activate both effects and resolve in the sequence. So you basically want to try to get 3 of them in there, but you have to have 1 to activate 1 of them. So the first effect is add 1 Light Machine monster from your deck to your hand, and the second one is target 1 Light Machine monster in your graveyard, shuffle that target into the deck. More than likely, you don't do that. The more than likely, it doesn't really matter as long as you have Cyber Dragon in there. You just add 1 Light Machine monster from deck to hand. It's just another Cyber Emergency. So, and it sets up, the Cyber Dragon plays, which is ingenious, smart. So we're going to run 2 Machine Duplication. reason we run 2 machine duplication is not 3 is we don't want to brick trying to get all the Cyber Dragon stuff rolling if we've got a bunch of branded stuff in hand. The two do not want to mesh well together, so you don't want to keep, flood it with a bunch of Cyber Dragons when it's trying to run a branded Despia engine. You want just a splash here and there, and it works beautifully. So, very good. Run 1 power bond. The reason you want run 1 power bond is if you happen to get it, you can potentially use this because you can use monsters from hand and field as material, and then it doubles the attack of whatever you're summoning. So let's say you don't have all of your Cyber Dragons out, but you got a bunch of branded crap. You can just use this as one of your discards, or you can just save it and wait. That's something you can do, but again, that's why Power Bond is at 1, and we don't really have any searchers to grab it. So 1 Overload Fusion is smart. Fusion summon 1 Dark Machine Fusion monster from your extra deck by banishing fusion materials listed on it from your field or graveyard. So yes, this is a speed duel version. Unfortunately, I did happen to misplace mine, so I'm using the speed duel version. So this is a very good card, and if you don't know, you can use speed duels in the regular TCG. It doesn't really affect anything, so they're nice to have. So got Overload there. 1 Call by the Grave, obviously. I would like to throw some Cross-Out Detonators in this by the end of this, but for now, we're just going to play it by the budget and say that I can't get Cross-Out Detonators. And I have almost every hand trap except for Joel Locke and Ash. So this is great for, if your Branded Fusion gets Ash, or your Fusion gets hit with something like, I don't know, just any of your plays. If there's anything that happens with a card in the graveyard, if you can banish it on resolve like Phoenix Enforcer, you're better off to do that, and it's a very smart play. So I like Call by the Grave for that reason. I run 1 Cybernetic Overflow. Now, this is a 1 for an obvious reason. You do not want to double fist these things. That's not good. So banish Cyber Dragons with different levels from your hand, face-up, field, or graveyard. Then destroy an equal number of cards your opponent controls. If this card is on the field, is destroyed by a card effect, add 1 Cyber Spell or Trap from your deck to your hand. Which, if this card is destroyed, then it allows you to go ahead and search Cyber Emergency. Basically any Cyber Spell or Trap. So it allows you to get Cyber Emergency and Repair Point. So it's very good there. And the last trap I have in this deck, because we only run 4 traps, is 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. I don't use any D barriers because the deck is basically a running FTK, so I'm not really worried about D barriers, and I do have things built into this deck to kind of stop in case if that happens. But this is not the most up to line deck you're ever going to see. It's just a very good look at what a Cyber Dragon branded deck can be and the possibilities of how it could work. This is basically the best way it can mesh with the way I've got it right now. So it's not bad the way I've got it. So with that is all of the main deck. So I'll set that up there, and let's get into some extra deck. How about it? So we're going to start off with all of the Despian stuff first, and then we'll get into Cyber Dragons later. So we're going to run 1 Brideglade. So I'm not really going to explain these guys. I've explained them before, but they're very good for what they do. 1 Tikala, the Ash Dragon. 1 Mirror Jade, Iceblade Dragon, which is known for banishing. 1 Albion, the Branded Dragon, which he is used for banishing your materials from the graveyard if fusion summon a level 8 or lower. So I'll just quickly go over them because I got a lot of extra deck to go over. You got Lubellion, which shuffles the materials back in the deck. Despian Proskenion. Now this one's a little bit different, so I'm going to go ahead and explain it while I'm at it. So Despian Proskenion is one Despian monster, a light monster, and a dark monster. During your main phase, quick effect, you can target one Fusion, Synchro, Xyz, or a Link monster in your opponent's graveyard and banish it, or special summon it to your field, which is probably what you're going to do. When this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can inflict damage to your opponent equal to that monster's original attack or defense, whichever is higher. So very powerful there. I run one Starving Venom Fusion Dragon. Let's slide this down just a bit. And the last branded one I have is the one and only Masquerade the Blazing Dragon. So Masquerade the Blazing Dragon is one of the most best cards in today's meta currently. And the reason for it is the burn damage that it does. Not really burn, it's more like you have to pay for everything you do. So it's one Despian monster, a light monster, or a dark monster. It could be either or. While you control this fusion summon card, your opponent must pay 600 life points to activate cards or effects. If your opponent controls a ritual, fusion, synchro, Xyz, or link monster, basically any of the ones coming from the extra deck, except for the rituals. While this card is in your graveyard, quick effect, you can special summon this card, but banish it when it leaves the field. So basically, if it goes bye-bye, you can bring it back, basically for free, and just banish it. And if it's banished, then you could use Albion to just shuffle it back in the deck for Proskenion. So it's kind of broken, if you have to be honest. You could run one Blazing, or you can run two. Two is very effective, especially if you get them off in turn 1. So for our Cyber Dragons, we'll start off with the fusions here. So I'm going to put them all on here so you can see them. Fortress, Chimera Tech Fortress. He has one dragon and one more machine type monster. So it cannot be used as a fusion material, so you cannot use this to fusion summon off of it. Must be special summoned from your extra deck by sending the above cards from your either field to the graveyard. You do not use polymerization. You can get into this with one of the like Lubellion or Albion, but just depends on how you want to do it. He does gain 1,000 for each material that is used, so the more the better. I use one Chimera Tech Mega Fleet. The reason I like these is they can't be used for like Super Poly because they cannot be used as fusion material. It's one Cyber Dragon monster and 1+ monsters in your extra monster zones. Cannot be used as fusion material. Must be special summoned from your extra deck by sending the above cards from either field to the graveyard. Do not use polymerization. The original attack of this card becomes 1,200 times the number of fusion materials used for its special summon. And then next we have one of the best, Chimera Tech Rampage Dragon. He's 2 or more Cyber Dragons, depending on how many you use, depends on how many spells and traps you can destroy. A fusion summon of this card can only be done with the above fusion materials. When this card is fusion summoned, you can target spells and trap cards on the field up to the number of fusion materials used for this summon. Destroy them once per turn. You can send up to 2 light machine monsters from your deck to the graveyard, and if you do, for each monster sent to the graveyard, this card gains 1 additional attack each battle phase. So Chimera Tech Rampage is very good, and he's got quite a bit of text. Next is the Chimera Tech Over Dragon, which is freaking ridiculous. So it's 1 Cyber Dragon plus 1 or more machine monsters. Must be fusion summoned. If this card is fusion summoned, send all of the cards to the graveyard, which is bad. The original attack and defense of this card become equal to the number of fusion Oh my god, the attack and defense each become equal to the number of fusion materials used for its fusion summon times 800. This card can attack your opponent's monsters a number of times each battle phase up to the number of fusion materials used for its fusion summon. So the best way to bring this out is to have say about anywhere from 5 to 10 Cyber Dragons in your graveyard, fusion summon into this, and basically target a monster that can't be destroyed and just go to town, because it would give it 5 to 8 strikes for 4,000 or 8,000 either way, and it's pretty devastating when you do it that way, especially if somehow you've power bonded it, or if you decided that you was going to use Overload Fusion just to jump right into this. It can be devastating. And the last card I run, Cyber Eternity Dragon. So, allow me to explain you him, because I do not remember his effect, and he's got a freaking paragraph. So he is 1 Cyber Dragon plus 2 machine monsters. If you have a machine fusion monster in your graveyard, your opponent cannot target this card with card effects. Also, it cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. If this fusion summon card you control would be sent to the graveyard by an opponent's card effect, you can special summon 1 Cyber Dragon from your hand, deck, or graveyard. You can banish this card from your graveyard. This turn, your opponent cannot target fusion monsters you control with card effects. Also, they cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. So basically, when this card is banished, you ain't doing shit. So basically, the best thing to do is to somehow send this to the graveyard, and then pull this guy out, banish this sucker, and then you're pretty good, because you won't be able to do anything with him. So that is the genuine play with those. And then the last 2 cards I have in the deck is Cyber Dragon Nova and Cyber Dragon Infinity. Of course, you've probably seen that on top of the deck. So, Cyber Dragon Nova, 2 level 5 machine monsters, and with Infinity, 3 level 6 light machine monsters. But what you can do is, if you use Nova, you can just stack Infinity right on top of it. How neat. So Nova actually helps you set up combos. Let me read him real quick. So Nova, once per turn, you can detach 1 material from this card and target 1 Cyber Dragon in your graveyard. Special summon that target. Once per turn, quick effect, you can banish 1 Cyber Dragon from your hand or face-up field in your monster zone. This card gains 2100 attack until the end of this turn. If this card in your possession is sent to your graveyard by an opponent's card effect, you can special summon 1 machine fusion monster from your extra deck, which is ridiculous to have an effect like that. And then we all know Infinity, which once per turn you can exceed summon Cyber Dragon Infinity by using Cyber Dragon Nova. How neat. You can control its material, transfer its materials to this card. It gains I think 200 for each. Alright. Let's see here. Gains 200 attack for each material attached to it, yeah. So, then once per turn, you can target 1 face-up attack position monster on the field, attach it to this card's material. Once per turn, when a card or effect is activated, a quick effect, you can detach 1 material from this card, negate the activation, and destroy it. So, Cyber Dragon Infinity is very hard to get around. And he can almost kill you just by stealing your shit. So, with that being said, I have officially went over the entire branded Cyber Dragon deck. And for you guys, I feel like this is a pretty good deck. It's not one that I'm, that I'm like head over heels for, but I do feel like this deck can have some potential in the future, unless if a bunch of branded cards just randomly get hit. So with that being said, this is all the time I have for today. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, enjoyed this deck profile, as it is a lot of fun to actually play, and it is very, very powerful. I do like the main Cyber Dragon deck, but this one has a little bit more potency, and it's more of the Cyber Dragon control variation, which I do tend to like. So again, if you guys are new, make sure you subscribe, leave comments down below, and I'm Pierce Nation, and I'll see you in the next video. Pierce Nation out.